Let's begin then. Guten Morgen. I'm in Vienna, so we're in the morning. Good afternoon and boa tarde. On behalf of the Timor-Leste Studies Association and the Centro Nacional Chega, I would like to welcome you to the International Research Symposium, the Santa Cruz Massacre 1991, 30 years on. We're delighted to have online participants in attendance from across the world, so Austria, where I am, but also in Portugal, Mozambique, Brazil, the United States, Germany, Sri Lanka, Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, the Netherlands, Malaysia, Australia, and of course in person in Dili, Timor-Leste. So the schedule, the span of hours of the conference is to accommodate this sort of global nature. And we thank you for your understanding in that regard. So my name is Hannah Loney. I'm a professor in gender studies at the Central European University, and I'll be chairing this opening session. So first, I'll just say a couple of words of welcome on behalf of the Timor-Leste Studies Association. I will then hand it over to Father Jovito de Araujo in Dili, who will make some remarks on behalf of the Centro Nacional Chega. And then we are very honoured to have His Excellency, Dr. José Ramos-Horta, who will deliver a short keynote address from Dili. Now, the organisation of this symposium has been a joint effort, and I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the other members of the organising committee for their dedication and their hard work. So Dr. Vanessa Heerman from Curtin University, Mr. Hugo Fernandez from the Centro Nacional Chega, Professor Michael Leach from Swinburne University of Technology, Dr. Marisa Ramos Gonçalves from the Centro de Estudos Sociais at the Universidade de Coimbra, and Mr. Rogerio Savio, an independent researcher from Timor-Leste. I would also like to thank the Asian Studies Association of Australia, which provided funding to support this event, and the Universidade Aberta for granting us permission to use their online platform. And in particular, I would like to thank Professor Lucio Souza for his support in setting up the online platform and dealing with various administrative issues. Lucio, we could not have done this without you, so thank you. So this symposium is held to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Santa Cruz Massacre of the 12th of November 1991, an event that marked a turning point in Timor-Leste's struggle for national self-determination. The Indonesian army's killing of more than 270 young East Timorese protesters at Dili's Santa Cruz cemetery was captured in dramatic footage and broadcast internationally. The protest and its crackdown changed the way the international community perceived the Indonesian occupation of the territory. And this tragic event was also seized upon by East Timorese activists to internationalise the struggle for national self-determination. Now, the individual responsible for capturing this footage was the British cameraman Max Stahl, who, as you know, sadly passed away almost 2 weeks ago. So this event is dedicated to the memory of Max Stahl, a committed advocate and true friend to the people of Timor-Leste, a courageous, kind, and quite remarkable man. I would now like to introduce Father Jovito de Araujo, who will make some remarks on behalf of the Centro Nacional Chega. Father Jovito was a commissioner in Timor-Leste's Commission for Reception, Truth and Reconciliation. He now works at the Diocese of Dili and is a board member of the Centro Nacional Chega. So Father Jovito, over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity given to me in the name of CNC to address you this opening remarks on this online symposium to commemorate the 30th years of Santa Cruz Massacre. First of all, I'd like to ask you permission to address people who are invited to this online symposium. Your Excellency, Dr. José Manuel Ramos-Horta, Nobel Peace Prize laureate and former President of Timor-Leste Republic. Your Excellency, Gregorio Saldaña, President of Committee 12 November. Your Excellency, Constancio Pinto, President of the 25, Committee 25, Manasseh Lopes from Camstil, Señora Joana Díaz, UN Human Rights, Proreitor Universidad de Sociedade Civil, Director Ejecutivo Centro Nacional Chega, Professor Michael Lee, Hannah, Luisa, Dr. Marisa, and everyone who listened to me this afternoon. Before addressing you my brief opening remarks to this online symposium, with all respect, I'd like to ask you all to stand up for a while, to bow our head in honor of the young heroes of the Santa Cruz Massacre, in a special manner, in honor of our beloved Christopher Vena, alias Max Toll, who passed away last 28 October this year, exactly 30 years after the death of Sebastián Gómez. All of us, especially we Timorese people, and also the world, owed the protagonism of Max Toll's courageous testimony upon the flagrant brutality and barbaric shooting of Indonesian military at the Santa Cruz Cemetery. After collecting the film, he made known by spreading the cries of truth for truth, justice, and freedom of the Timorese people through Mrs. Saskia Koenberg. So please let us stand up for a while to bow our head in honor of the mentioned people. Thank you. First of all, in the name of Chega National Center, and in the name of the future of this country's young generation, I'd like to thank all those who stand behind the scene of this honorable initiative, to recall from the ashes of forgotten and to keep alive, not in revenge for the blood of the deceased heroes, but and especially on the high rank of glorious martyrdom of the youth against prepotentialities and heartless arbitrary without mercy. Secondly, after long years of deep silence in mourning for the death toll of the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, Japan, on the February 1981, Pope John Paul II visited Japan for the first time after 38 years. And this man of God broke the silence when he visited the cenotaph for the atomic bomb victims, where he made an everlasting iconic appeal for peace by saying, "War is the work of men. War is destruction of human life. War is death." And precisely in front of the Memorial Cathedral of Hiroshima was recorded Pope John Paul II's fantastic invitation to the world. To remember Hiroshima is to abhor nuclear war. To remember Hiroshima is to commit to peace. Today, sitting down here on this chair in front of you all, I'd like to invite you with the same message addressed by St. John Paul II. To remember Santa Cruz Massacre is to abhor violence. To remember Santa Cruz Massacre is to commit to peace. Every year, on the eve of 12 November, the Timorese people commemorate the Santa Cruz Massacre in their own way by lighting the candles of hope to their beloved ones. This burning light should be spread out in order to blow the fragrance of freedom to those who are still seeking and fighting for truth and justice around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, 30th anniversary is a long range of memory of a blessed day, a day where the Timorese youth worship and glorify God with their own blood. Santa Cruz Cemetery remained as a sacred place for generations to come. The chapel, the tombs, the wall, the sand, and all that witnessed the horror and suffering produced by the Indonesian military toward hundreds of young people in that morning of 12 November, 1991. I bow my head as I recall the memory of hundreds of young boys and girls who lost their lives in that terrible morning, and those who for long years carried in their bodies and minds the torment of the scars of death. We are here today not only to remember the 3 decades traumatic event of the Santa Cruz Massacre. We are here today to celebrate the blessed and historic moment of Timorese people's long road to freedom. We are here today not to take advantage for our own sake, but to dignify the thought of those brave and nameless of the 12 November 1991 young people. To remember the past is to commit oneself to the future. I wish you all good luck and thank you for listening to me in addressing these remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Jovito, for those powerful and inspiring words. I am now honoured to introduce our next speaker, His Excellency, Dr. José Ramos-Horta, who will deliver a short keynote address. He requires no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. Dr. José Ramos-Horta was a founder, a former member of Fretland, served as the exiled spokesperson for the East Timorese resistance during the years of Indonesian occupation. He was the co-recipient of the 1996 Nobel Peace Prize. And after Timor-Leste's independence, Dr. Ramos-Horta served as Prime Minister of Timor-Leste and as President of Timor-Leste. After that, he was appointed as the United Nations Special Representative and head of the United Nations Integrated Peacebuilding Office in Guinea-Bissau. I will hand over to you now, Dr. Ramos-Horta. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is not going to be a keynote speech because obviously I saw on the list of speakers, participants is each of you have an incredible academic and activist background who are very familiar with November 12th. And here in the room where I am sitting, there are some people who were the architects, the strategists of what became known as November 12th. But it is the first November 12th since 92 that Max Stahl is not with us. He passed away after many years of battling cancer. But there have been quite a lot of tributes, and I believe in the course of this event, the symposium, again and again we will hear about Max. And if it were not for Max Stahl, his courage in doing what he did, I do not need to elaborate. 12 November would have been as tragic, as heroic as it were, would be like the 7th December 75, the day of the invasion, when hundreds of Timorese, including Roger East, were murdered. It would be a bit like October 16, 75 in Balibo, when 5 journalists were killed, colleagues of Max, and but they were not able to film and smuggle out the film of the Kopassus attacks on Balibo, as they did attack Batugade, as they did attack Atabay. There were no films at the Mativian when hundreds and hundreds of people were killed there, and other places across the country. And this is the tragic reality of many conflict situations in the world, where there is no camera, particularly no video. These crimes are perpetrated with impunity with no consequences. We know that too well. So Max is very much part of the whole history of Timor-Leste, particularly after 92. I commend Centro, Nacional, Chega, and all of you who have organized this symposium to once again talk about the multiple aspects of the issues surrounding 12 November 91, and what the messages, the legacy of, for all of us. What is the legacy of Max Stahl? What we are going to do with it? And in this room, there are people like Gregorio Saldaña. You will hear from him, Constancio Pinto, and so on. I will end with this, and I participated primarily outside Timor-Leste when I and Dr. Maria Alcatiri and Roger Lobato, we left, and we joined abroad with José Luis Guterres, Roca Rodriguez, and then many other Timorese in communities in Australia, in Portugal in particular, to be a small part of the greater struggle going on in Timor-Leste. Greater in the sense, the magnitude of the sacrifices, the magnitude of the forces unleashed on the people here. We were abroad in the beginning, very much isolated, very much alone, and but then with Santa Cruz and Max Stahl courage and other witnesses who are here, I cannot forget Amy Goodman, still with us in New York. She never let Timor story disappear from the radar in the United States. Alan Nine and many others, Saskia and Stephen Cox and many others. I pay tribute to the Portuguese media, particularly Lusa, RTP, Radio Renascença, TSF, and the others, the media in France and UK, United States, Australia, who after Santa Cruz began to pay more attention and to take more seriously what the Timorese were trying to tell the media about the tragic reality in Timor-Leste. I end by only sharing a short story about it. I was in Europe in November 91, and I stayed in this very small apartment that belonged to a brother of mine, with one of those old telephones, black telephones. When it rings, almost the whole building shakes. And sometime I think was like 4 in the morning, that black phone rang, and of course I jumped. It was someone calling me from Delhi, November 12, 91. And he said, they are killing us, and I could hear the screaming. And I felt very frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the phone number of the Portuguese president. And the only people I thought I would be able to wake them up was Lusa. So I phoned Lusa, the Portuguese news service. And they are the ones who began to spread the story, at least from my voice from them. Then, in the course of the day, a journalist from the Independent of London called me. A week before, I had been to UK to talk to the media about Timor-Leste. And I was telling them about the tension, the growing violence in Timor-Leste. And the journalist, when he called me, he said, I'm calling to apologize. You were here last week. I didn't write anything about it because I thought you were exaggerating. So I called to apologize, and I'm going to write a story about it. And so our voices, because we didn't have pictures, we were party involved directly, we are activists, we are militants, some call us communists, Marxists, and so things changed when there were visuals. And so also tremendous tribute to the journalists who, particularly starting with the 5 in Balibo and Roger East, and the last casualty of Timor is Max Stahl. He died of battling cancer for many years, and until the very last minute of his life, he was still concerned about Timor-Leste. So anyway, I end here. I promise not to do a real keynote because difficulty, instability of the internet. There are many speakers who are more eloquent than me to talk about this topic. A big hug, abraço para todos, a big hug to all of you, and thank you for to Centro Chega and all the others who hosting this event. Thank you.